Hello and welcome to Tech Britain TV. My name is Imran Azam and we're lucky enough to be joined by a futurologist. Yes, they do exist. This is Mark Stevenson, who's just been on stage at Silicon Beach 2013 here in sunny Bournemouth, and no doubt is taking the roof off the building. Was there a standing ovation?
No, there's some whooping there. There was some, which is always good.
Some whooping, some twittering perhaps?
Yeah, I think so.
Some
tweeting and whooping. There's a little bit of nakedness and a few puppets.
Okay, great. So, tell us, for those of us who are uninitiated, what is a futurologist?
Well, actually, I don't really like the term, to be honest. I think
We'll stop using it.
Well, no, it's
I'll call you Mark.
Yeah, Mark. It's a shorthand. Most futurologists think it's rubbish. It's mostly people's wish lists or prejudices put into predictions. And what I do is I help my clients, whether that's school children in the East End of London or investment billionaires, ask some of the right questions about the future. So talk to them about the big trends that are happening in terms of demographic change or technological change, and what questions does that now raise? So for instance, 3D printing raises very profound questions if you're a manufacturer, and what questions should you be asking? So it's really a sort of like getting people into the right place where they can answer their own questions but getting them to ask the right ones. That's what I do.
Sounds like technological counselling.
Yeah, kind of like future counselling, I guess. You usually go to a counsellor to talk about your past, whereas you come to me to talk about your future.
Very good, very good. Okay, so let's use a couple of examples here. No doubt everybody's aware that things are changing and changing rapidly. They're changing so quickly, in fact, that most people would probably say it's quite difficult to predict how things are going to pan out. I mean, when Napster came along all those years ago, the music industry didn't take it seriously. They litigated against it and closed it down. And now we find that Sean Parker is back as one of the executives of Spotify, right? Yeah. So how do you go about asking the right questions and helping people determine the future when it is so uncertain? Simply by doing that, asking the right questions. The job is to be awake at the wheel, because she's right, change does come very rapidly, but most organisations are hanging on to the company manual, the way they've always done things, which is a bit like driving a car with the wheels stuck. Okay, so my job is quite often helping clients rework their culture so they're more agile, more able to take those bends in the road when they come. So not necessarily know what the bends are, but you know they're coming, you've just said, and they're speeding up, getting faster. If you're driving, a 1920s Jeep rather than a Tesla, you're in trouble. And I know a lot of companies are going off the cliff, and we'll see that in manufacturing. The digital revolution was the trailer. There was a cocktail sausage before dinner, right? If you look at what's happening in biology and manufacture now, and nanotechnology, they're going to have the same sort of groundbreaking effects that happened in digital, but magnified like 100-fold. So it's going to totally radically change the way society works. Now, some of my clients have actually closed down their companies after hearing me talk to them because they thought there's no point, I might as well save my money now. But others are trying to re-architect themselves into it and be able to take those calls. So as a country, where do we rank in terms of taking the future into consideration and asking the right questions of ourselves?
I don't really care, because I think the nation state to a large extent is going to become increasingly irrelevant. I think you've got to ask yourself as an individual, as a person, as an organisation, as a family, how good are you? And that's anything you can do. Can be said to be the change you want to see in the world. Waiting for governments and large institutions to take these changes seriously is like waiting for Jeremy Clarkson to write a feminist novel. It's just you're going to be waiting a long time. So get on and do rather than worrying about what they're doing.
So it really is about people power, to use an old phrase.
Yeah, the great thing about the digital the digital sort of profession, is that it is, I think, a lot more imbued with senses of openness and trust and sharing, and the open source kind of vibe is kind of in there as part of the infrastructure, and that makes people here at Silicon Beach, I think, very useful in helping us go forward, as long as they themselves don't stagnate. Can they keep that openness? Because we've got 20 years to save the planet, basically, with what's happening with climate change, and we need to get on.
So definitely not a climate denier. That's good, right? Just to give you a shameless plug, so I run sharemystorage.com, which is a collaborative consumption platform, i.e. enabling people to share resources with other people. You'll be no doubt aware of Airbnb.
Yeah.
Do you have a particular take on the whole collaborative consumption industry in terms of tech and where it's going, and whether or not it's really has longevity?
I think it does have longevity. Human beings are essentially sharing creatures, and the whole ethos of the internet is about sharing stuff that we couldn't share before and finding with people. So if you were the heavy metal fan who also was a toenail fetishist, you couldn't find the other 10 toenail fetishising heavy metal fans there were out there. But now you can form a community, you can share toenails and metal at the same time. There was no mark for that before. Now, but it's great that you can now do that. So, if I've just bought a flat and I'm doing it up, and there's loads of tools that I've had to go and buy. But I'm sure that my neighbours probably got the tools, so wouldn't it be great if we could share them?
I suppose the problem perhaps arises when there's a conflict of interest between, say, the old way of doing things and the new way of seeing things.
Yeah.
With regards to, say, tool sharing, it's not in the interest of GDP, really, is it, to share a tool amongst, say, 20 people?
Well, yeah, but you say that. I mean, you look at what happened in the record industry. They thought they'd try to hold on to that industry, and actually, they've lost out. But we're listening to more music than ever. So the thing that we want is happening more. The question is it about the tool, or is it about the work that the tool does? And if the tool is doing more work, then we have to rethink it. The great thing is that, as Philip K. Dick said, reality is that which, when you stop believing it, doesn't go away. And whether tool manufacturers like it or not, this ability to share is coming, and they better get on board with it, otherwise I'll end up like EMI.
Okay. On the crib sheet here, it says that you're also an author.
Yes.
And the book, is it a number of books? The latest one?
No, I've just written one. I'm writing two. I've written another one at the moment, but I've written one.
Okay, so an optimist tour of the future. So what's the general gist of this? What's the blurb say?
It's kind of it's basically a primer on what's happening in science and technology, including the climate, networks, nanotechnology, synthetic biology, all that kind of stuff, for normal people. So
that we can actually understand.
So you can actually understand. So most books about science and tech are written by geeks for geeks, and I say that being one of those geeks, okay. But I wanted to write one for my mum, basically, because the stuff that is happening in 3D printing, nanotech, all that kind of stuff, biotech, is going to affect everybody, and everybody should be aware of it. So I tried to write a book that would be read by investors, school teachers, priests, stay-at-home parents, that kind of stuff. And luckily, that's what it's done, which is great.
And I should have asked this question at the beginning, really. How is it that you found yourself in the position of advising companies in this way? What's your background?
It was because I wrote the book, actually. Mostly that. People sort of thought, oh, hang on, he's an interesting thinker. And they just started phoning me up and offering to pay me, which was great. So I said yes.
And prior to that, can I ask what you were doing?
I run a learning consultancy as well.
Right.
So, and I was a stand-up comedian for a while, and before that I was sort of a freelance cryptographer, writer and musician.
You do realise everyone's just remembered stand-up comedian just now?
Yeah, yeah. It's useful when you're doing presentations. Having done that for a year, it enables you to throw a few jokes in, which always makes a presentation go well.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Mark, thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
And all the best with the future.
Well, yeah. It's yours too, so all the best.
Yeah, all the best for our future.
Yeah.
Okay, this has been Imran Azam and Mark Stevenson for Tech Britain TV. We'll be reporting back with other movers and shakers and founders and thinkers later on today. Thanks.